Oh my
Should I
God.
start over?
Hello, hi, welcome to Wonderslide. This is we're gonna have to just redo this conversation, I guess. This is Trishia Domingo. We've been talking for about 30 minutes and you know, this is this is how I run a podcast apparently today.
That's okay.
She was in the middle of
No,
telling us about this story that happened to her. Trisha, do you I don't know what to do.
no, it's fine. No, we can. I mean, I was just getting started, so I think this is a good chance. This is a good
Oh,
place
do you have
to.
anything to do after this?
Today, no, not until later this evening.
Okay, so we
So,
can extend the time maybe 20 minutes.
yeah,
I'm so
yeah, of
sorry.
course.
I look
No, it's okay.
okay. So Trisha is a model and confidence coach among many other things, and we have been talking a while. We wandered through a lot of different topics, but right now we were on the story of her finding out that her family was imploding. So she was on a train. You were almost 30 years old with your father, your mother, your younger your sister
Sister.
and brother. You were
Yeah.
in Europe for their 30th anniversary trip,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and your dad asked you if you wanted to take a nap, and you said, I'm
I said, no, I want to look at this sunset. And then I look over to my left and to this day, it's so weird because, like, to this day, I'm like, why did I look over? Right. And like, my dad's phone was in clear sight. And I'm also not like a nosy person. I'm not Snoopy. Like, I don't care enough about that. But I looked over anyway, and then I just saw that he was on Facebook Messenger, which was not like out of the norm. Also because he manages like businesses, and the main mode of communication is just from Messenger. And I remember like looking and seeing that the chat said, oh, like, I don't know. And this was also in like Tagalog. So it was like, um, I got like quick glance, and then my brain did its best to like translate while I was like processing, like, and time was moving very like fast, but also very slow at the same time. And like just so much was happening. And I just remember seeing like one, I did not recognize the name of the person that was sending this message. At first, I thought that it was my aunt because I knew that she had just changed her Facebook name to like something that was in a different language. And anyway, the message said, oh, I don't know if I can do this anymore. And like right underneath, he was like, oh, um, something, something, something. He's like, oh, it's okay, hun. And then like somewhere underneath it said like, oh, Tygo Corporation and I are one and the same. And I just remember seeing the word like hun twice and being like, what? I'm like, what do you mean, hun? When my mom is literally like sitting right across from me. And I remember also being like, there was a moment I think where like he realized that he was being very like obvious with his phone, and he kind of like moved it over. And I just remember thinking like, you son of a bitch. I'm like, I cannot believe this.
you
And
discovered that your father was having an affair on the trip
yeah,
in Europe.
yeah.
And what did you do with that information?
Unfortunately, I did nothing. I just held it. I held it. Because this was once again like, and also to put even more context into the situation, um, this was one day before my parents' 30th wedding anniversary. And this anniversary was also special, not only because it was our first time in Europe, but it was also supposed to be like our last family trip together for a while. And my parents were also going to be moving from the US to the Philippines after this. And this was told to us under the guise of, oh, like I'm like gonna be 50 soon, and or yeah, he was turning 50 that year. And I have like these businesses that I'm trying to stand up, like that's in the Philippines, which was true. And I'm tired of like working for other people and like this and that, yada yada yada. And that the behavior of like, spending some time in the US and then going back into the Philippines or like whatever your home country is, it's very prevalent for people that are my parents' age, I would say, for sure. So none of that seemed like suspect or anything. I think everyone just played along. And then but yeah, but he also didn't tell people that he was doing this because he has a mistress and like he was interested in just like starting a new life together. And
Was she in the Philippines?
yeah,
Okay.
she's
So he
also in the
was moving
Philippines.
to the Philippines with his wife in order to be close to his mistress.
Yeah.
Okay. And also business reasons. I mean, men don't do anything without like multiple layers of reasoning, right?
That's
That's a general statement, but
that is very, very true in this case. Um, yeah, so like unfortunately I just held on to that information because I one did not want to ruin the rest of the trip for everyone else.
oh, as a
And
great older sister, you just kept your shit together,
I uh, I like I don't know if I would can even say that I like regret my decision also.
right?
Like cuz I know especially for that time, I'm like, there's still 4 or 5 more days of this trip. And we're literally like, what are we going to do? Just like fly all the way back to the US or just, I don't know. I, I'm like having this internal battle of like, what is logistics going to look like? And,
Oh,
trying to just
yeah.
like manage other people's emotions and experience too at the
Okay.
cost of my own
Yes.
mental health.
Pause. I want you to imagine had you been honest with yourself and given yourself what you needed when that was happening, because that's a big fucking thing to discover.
Mm-hmm.
And you're carrying all this information by yourself. What what would you have done with the information that you know now?
I think I would have just told my mom sooner. I yeah, because she and I didn't talk about it until like this happened in July, and we didn't talk about it until like I want to say September ish.
Saying that in a way of like you did the wrong thing, being judgmental,
Mm-hmm.
saying as a compassionate person to yourself, what did you need in that moment?
I mean, definitely somebody to just like give me a hug and say like, or even ask like how I felt about the situation, or just that like whatever is happening is, or like my experience is okay. And of course I'm going to be like angry and like upset about this, but that it's not the end of the world, and it's also not like anything and everything that happens after this is not my own burden to carry.
Yeah. I think I think there are so many good things that come out of affairs. I know that's like a crazy thing to say, but
Mm-hmm.
the illusionment of who your dad was pretending to be was no longer, he couldn't uphold that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You knew in that moment that he was a fucking liar
Mm-hmm.
and had been pretending, living two lives simultaneously. And most people make it their whole life without ever being honest about who they are, right? They don't get
Yeah.
busted, they don't get found out because they're not doing anything nefarious, necessarily. They're just in constant hiding from themselves and other people, right? But
Yeah.
affairs puts you in a position of you know you ain't right. Everybody sees it. You can't hide
Yeah.
that shit.
Yeah.
It's kind of a beautiful way to unravel your ego, you know? I'm sure it didn't feel beautiful at the time, but
No. I Yeah, I mean, there's still, like, I know there's definitely still a lot of healing that is needed for, like, not only just the family in general, but for myself. But I do think that it was certainly the catalyst. And I knew that my transforming relationship with like both him and like that side of the family and just all these interpersonal things was going to be just such a huge um just like a huge much needed healing moment.
mm,
um and yeah, it sucks because on the one hand I feel like I my whole life I'm told I've been told like, oh, you are a trailblazer. Like obviously being an immigrant and like doing all of these things for the first time, literally in the family. Like, yes, that is kind of just inbred into my DNA at this point.
mhm.
But I think, and so it almost felt like in the situation also with my family, like it couldn't have happened any other way. And like just my part in this just had to happen that way so that I could learn all of these lessons that only I needed or only I could have in that moment needed to learn. Also, partially so I could help other people like discover that and be honest with themselves as well, and to be able to like wake out of the trance of our just general conditioning for ourselves.
Mm, I like that. Wake out of the trance. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are very, and it's so easy. It's so easy to just be seduced by so many things in life and to just operate from a default perspective.
Mhm.
And unless you have the proper support or unless you have built up the habits of being able to wake yourself out of that, then
Mm,
it's very difficult to leave sometimes.
yeah. I I recently had an issue with my family, and I had to go run in the to the bathroom and cry. I
Mm-hmm.
was at a public place, and I felt in that moment like everything that I thought about them. Like I knew that I was dismantling and untangling my attachment to them. It's been
Mm-hmm.
a process for a very long time, but I had been trying to, reincorporate myself and get close to them again and all the things. And then I had a moment where it was like, this is not your tribe. This is not your soul tribe. Like
Mm-hmm.
they did not, they were not given to you, because I do believe that we pick our families before we come to earth, right? They have specific things to teach us. And it was like they were meant for calibration for you, not connection. Your tribe
Yeah.
is outside of your family unit. And that was and I've been grieving that. That's like a deep grief, because I love them intensely, but they cannot meet me in the same capacity that I need them to. They still have ideas about who I am that make me feel very small and that do
Mm-hmm.
not fit the container that I am in now. And
Mm-hmm.
so you have to move past those systems and be around your people who actually let you be as expansive as you need to be in the moment, right? And that's typically
Yeah.
families.
Yeah.
I,
For most of us, yeah, for sure.
yeah, I don't know that I've met many people that feel they don't have to play some role to appease the family unit, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's so many things in your story that just tug at my heart. Like you didn't have a relationship enough with your sister to talk to her about it.
No, I mean, there's this like huge overarching story of not not feeling like I could count on her.
Yeah.
And that's been the norm for a long time. And I knew that like I carried a lot of resentment towards her because of that. But yeah, that's definitely still something that I'm working through.
Yes. Um, I mean, sisters are, I have an older sister and I love her dearly, but we're very different people, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
now I'm looking at her as a woman and not just my sister.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting to I because I still slide back into that younger sister role of of needing her protection, you know. And then I remember, oh, yeah, but I don't. I'm 50.
It is so funny to like just slide back into the role, like you were saying, and how when, especially around family members too. And I think that people always use like Thanksgiving as an example of this. It's like, you know, when you're around family members, and once again you go back into your role of being like the middle child who was just like good and paid attention to everyone, and like it's just, yeah, it's just like going back into that trance.
It's insane that our nervous system just gets so used to one way of behavior. And you said something also about waking up, oh, out of a trance. Uh,
Hmm.
I recently did this research on why energetically, because I feel like when I'm required to be in spaces that around people that don't that aren't regulated, that aren't internally aware, that are you know, they thrive on small talk and distraction and just bullshit that doesn't matter. I physically cannot tolerate it. Like I feel like exhausted. I feel
Hmm.
irritable. I feel like I can't hold space for that kind of
Hmm.
interactions anymore. So I did this dive on what is it? What is actually happening when you're a conscious, aware person who is regulating themselves constantly, aware of the thoughts that are coming into your head in real time as they're coming. So
Hmm.
you are engaging with people on a completely different level, right, than other people are.
Hmm.
And energetically, it is like drawing your life force from you when people
Yeah,
are self-aware.
yeah,
And I thought it was so interesting because I'm like, it pisses me the fuck off because you're taking my life force that I've worked really hard to get to this place of
yeah.
regulating my nervous system, healing my shit, being aware of my belief systems while they're happening, not putting my shit on you. I'm not projecting any emotions that you need to caretake for me, while
Mhm.
simultaneously you're doing everything in opposition to how I show up in the world. So you're
Yeah,
dumping your toxic bullshit into my environment constantly. And it's it made me so angry, but I know that you have to heal your nervous system in order to even start that journey. And that is such a weird thing to regulate because your nervous system is blocking you from all the possible areas that you could grow because it just wants you to be stay safe, right?
yeah.
So have you navigated any of that? What are your thoughts?
No, I'm sorry. One, before I respond to your question, I'm really curious about when you say that you feel the anger in your body, like where in your body do you feel the most activated? Or is that something that you are aware of right now?
Yeah, for sure I'm aware of it. I My face starts getting real hot.
Mm-hmm.
My chest tightens. And then usually I just go and then I feel fine. But
Yeah,
because I know realistically speaking that not everybody has the tools. You know, I get it.
yeah,
It's a process and it took a lot of really fucking painful things for me to even start the journey. So, I mean, are you wishing pain on other people?
no,
I mean,
no, certainly not.
ugh,
For me, like it definitely has been a journey, and I am also somebody who like preaches like purpose over perfection is something that one of my friends likes to say. Instead of saying like, you know, progress over perfection, it's like at the end of the day, we're all human. And that's what I have to remember, is that I want to show up as a specific person, but also you can't give 100% every single day, or you're not going to be able to show up 100% yourself, or like the best version of yourself every single day. And so I give myself that grace, knowing that. And I also, and the more that I do that, I'm allowed, or I'm better able to give that grace to other people as well. And I found, at least for myself, is that when I am coming from a place where I'm not judging other people, that also means that I'm coming from a place where I'm not judging myself or
Right.
something inside of me.
Right.
And a lot of it is also just it's like doing the work of like feeling uncomfortable or like getting triggered by something, but taking that moment to like pause and say, like, okay, this is just, you know, my mind and my body are just trying to tell me something right now, and I'm not in danger. I'm okay.
Mhm.
Like, everything's okay. They probably just said something like that touched something in me. But at the end of the day, I want to really respond and not react, because I know that, um, yeah, it's so easy to react, and especially if you're in a place where you are not regulated,
Mhm.
and emotions are already here, and you likely have a lot of distraction and things around you too. So that like compounds with things. So it's so much easier to be like tripped up by something.
Yep. I agree with all of that. And I do drop into judgment, obviously. Sometimes.
It's really easy to. It's like it's and like you and I have said before, like these are skills that aren't taught to a lot of people, and society actively
Yes.
tries to get people to not only hate each other but also hate themselves. And
Yes. And I think really that is where my anger stems from, is why were we ever fucking taught this bullshit? It makes me so angry. Like I don't you can't be mad at any one person for the thing, right? Culture is
mhm,
developed over time and in a collective manner, and all of these things have happened for a reason because they were in survival mode, and we weren't taught how to live because we were too busy surviving. And so now we're like having to change that narrative and undress it and look at it and be like, "Oh, I see you." But it's
yeah, and it's
really
it,
dismantling of what you have been taught your whole life.
oh yeah, and I love that you talked about just being in survival mode, because I think that, you know, we have so many examples of like, especially with like horror stories of like, oh, this could be like the end of the world. And so you see what people do in extreme forms when they have to survive. But I think a lot of people don't realize that there's so many little micro things that people do while they're in survival mode that is still, it's not as bad as, you know, trying to like kill somebody in order to survive, but at the same time it's still not only chipping away with our relationships with each other but also our relationship to ourselves.
Mm, that is so true. I mean, everything that you do has an effect, right, in the
Mm-hmm.
universe. And I study Kabbalah, and one of their key things that they always talk about is anytime you speak ill of anyone, you're spreading that toxicity into the magnetic field of your life, and
Mm.
it comes back to you. It affects your own state of being, your own level of frequency anytime you put that shit out there. And it makes you be so aware of all the little, what you called it, micro tasks, or I can't remember the word you said, um but everything matters. There's nothing that doesn't matter. I kind of love it.
Yeah, whether we see it or not, like it does have some sort of ripple effect.
For sure. Yeah, energy is a thing. The law of attraction is a thing.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so are you in contact with your dad? Like how did that pan out? How long ago was that?
This was this was in 2022.
Okay, so
Um,
it's been four
and
years.
then we haven't we haven't really spoken in a while. He's definitely like reached out more than a few times, and even like after like he had moved, um he had tried to reach out to me, like tried to like call me a few times, but I would just screen his call and be like, oh sorry, like I was busy. But I mostly because I knew that if I spoke to him, I would just like lose my shit and just like cuss him out. um, yeah, I'm like, I'm not ready to look at you. I literally cannot look at you. Like, unless you want me to bite your head off, I am not interested in speaking to you. And yeah, this journey has definitely been a huge like lesson and like an experience for me to actually learn what putting up boundaries means and like what that looks like in the context of being like the eldest daughter in a Filipina family. And
Hmm.
because yeah, family is everything. And it's so like weird and interesting how that's the narrative that's pushed on us. But then there's also so much of um like losing yourself for the good of the family
Hmm.
and just that like enmeshment. And I know that is definitely um part of why it was so difficult for me to be able to say no to family members or to like even allow some of them to like make mistakes, or I would just like I would snap or something and like say something, or say like, oh, you like, why can't you just get this right now? But that was really just a reflection of me being frustrated,
Hmm.
because I was just being hard on myself too and not knowing how to be a little bit more gentle with myself and also gentle with other people. And yeah, like, so my dad and I haven't spoken in a while, and I knew that that was also the best because every time I would just learn something new about the situation, I would just completely lose respect for him. And I'm like, I have nothing nice to say about you right now. Like, I know that it's not true that there's nothing nice to say, and I'm very much clouded in this massive experience that took place.
Hmm.
And that's not to say that, like, you know, you didn't do your best as a father or whatever. I can make up all these stories, but at the end of the day, like, I know that, um, yeah, kind of like you were saying, like, I can recognize that having his like input and presence in my life was helpful at a certain point, but also knowing that like because of this family rupture and this betrayal, and also knowing that like to continue to have him in my life would only cause me so much more like hurt, and just yeah, it would just cause like so many different loops of these stories that I'm not interested in. And I don't want that kind of like negative energy and the ramifications of all of that to leak into my life as well, because I love my life. I love my life. I've worked very like hard to build a life and to be very intentional about the things that I'm doing. um, and I think part of that was also, yeah, I think part of me wanting to be like more optimistic and hopeful has also just been because of all the shit that I've had to go through, um, and wanting to offset that and know that like bad experiences only happen for, a short amount of time, and you have to just take that situation and learn what you can from it. Otherwise, you will sink and drown, and not everyone is able to make it out of um, just awful situations, unfortunately. But I'm glad that the ones who are, and the ones who truly heal, I think, are also looking to help others discover that for themselves too, if they're ready for it or if they want that.
Yeah, I feel like I was raised Southern Baptist, so we're all about spreading the gospel, spreading the
Mm-hmm.
good news.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I think the good news is there's so much freedom on the other side of all this like programming bullshit. Like, that's the good news to me. Having
Yeah.
internal peace that nobody gets to fuck with. I mean, that's the goal, right?
Yeah. I remember actually, like, it was probably like one of the last times that my dad and I corresponded through text. Like, he was really like lighting fire, like an internal fire inside of me. And I just felt like a pressure cooker. And
Mm,
I remember being like, oh my God, if I do not, like, if I continue to have this conversation, I am just going to make myself sick. And like, I don't like myself, and like how I just go for the jugular in this situation because I am just so full of rage and resentment.
mm,
And so I'm like, I just need to, put my phone away and not respond. Like, just let him have his experience and let him throw his tantrum. And like, now I know for sure that I need to just take care of myself. Like, I think this was the moment when I was like, no, in the past, like, I definitely would have like given you an earful, and that, would have served. But also, I know that the more I continue to do that, the more you're going to come back and think that, like, I'm always going to be able to respond to your texts, or that, like, you can always say whatever wild shit you're going to say to elicit a response from me. But the best thing to do, especially when you're dealing with a narcissistic person, is to just leave them on red, leave them on red, and do what you were actually here to do. Um,
I mean,
and
that
I felt so free afterwards.
could you see like times throughout your childhood where all of those traits were in your father, you just weren't paying attention, or you didn't have that framework to explain
I,
them?
yeah, I definitely did not. I was like, there's a lot of behaviors that I'm seeing that I definitely don't agree with, that don't align with like the kind of values that I personally have. And I'm like, I'm also seeing a lot of like, oh, do as I say, but not as I do behavior from you, even though you're trying to like put yourself in a position of being the leader and constantly like, puffing your chest up and saying like, look at how great I am. But then like,
Mm.
upon like also just conversations with you, I see the scared child that is underneath all of that. But once again, like, vulnerability is very difficult, I think, no matter who you are. And so many of us were not taught that skill. And as a society, also, we're very conditioned to see vulnerability as weakness.
Hmm. For sure. Authenticity as weakness.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't even think I was dismantling the feeling of disgust yesterday, and we've been
Mm-hmm.
told that disgust is like a bad emotion, right? You're not supposed to feel disgust for
Mm-hmm.
yourself or other people. And but I'm like, I think in fact that is like a signal to your system that this is not for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
This reel on it, like you feel disgust when there's rotten food because that's your body telling you don't fucking eat that.
Yeah.
That's how we also are meant to translate that feeling in other people. Like you're just not for me. Like whatever you got going on over there, that's fine. You do you, but I'm going to go over here because I feel like just completely repulsed by your presence. And
Yeah.
like owning that shit, the authentic self underneath all the shit we put on top of it, what you're meant to look like as a human being. I think that's the crux of what we're trying to birth, right? Is authenticity, not even vulnerability, because vulnerability has that tied to it that you are supposed to feel a certain way when you're exposed, right? When
Mm.
if you just owned it, then why would you care, right? Does that make sense to you? Like vulnerability is only vulnerability because we're afraid to show it.
Um, I think it's more so, or like more so like the way that I think of it is that we're scared to be vulnerable because there's just so much negative connotation around it. Like we create meaning that makes it more negative than it is. Like we're at the end of the day, I think a lot of people are scared to be seen, like to truly be seen. I think a lot of people are like very aware that they're perceived, and so they act a certain way, so that they're not perceived as something. But I think for them to be like truly seen and understood and like known for who they actually are,
Hmm.
is very scary.
Hmm. Yeah, maybe I just I don't like the word vulnerability. Like, can we just be ourselves? Why does it have to be like
Yeah, but
tender
I
to
think,
be yourself,
but
right?
I think like it's interesting though because part of authenticity is really, you know, giving vulnerability a big hug and saying like I am so, like for example you can say like I love myself so much that I'm willing to let to drop my defenses around you because I value like not only my experience, but I also know that like me being able to take off this mask in front of you opens up that connection. And whether or not you can also meet me here is your prerogative. But at the end of the day, it actually tends to do better for people to have that vulnerability, and to open up the floor in a sense instead of like clamming up, which I think most of us tend to do.
Yeah, for sure. I'm envisioning a world. Let's create this world. This is what we're doing. Okay,
Yeah,
together.
yeah,
We're creating this world where it is just fine to be authentic. Nobody's going to shame
yes,
you. Nobody's going to hate on you. They're just like, oh, I see you. That's interesting. You're beautiful, right?
yeah,
And just move on instead of like, I don't know, having these expectations of how people are supposed to be. And we all have like some gross shit inside of us that just needs some air.
oh yeah,
Just needs some air time. Okay, well, this conversation was so great. Um, thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing your
oh
story.
yeah.
I loved everything about it. Do you have any
Mm,
last words you want to, or anything you meant to talk about that we didn't talk about?
mm, not that I can think of at the moment. I had so much fun, and yeah, I love any moment that I can just show up and be vulnerable and impart some golden nuggets. And at the very least, if we've inspired people to be a little bit more authentic and vulnerable within themselves, and to really like look at the hard truths of their own lives, I think that we've done a great job.
Hmm. Me too. The first half of the conversation was just for us, apparently. And
And everyone on TikTok who saw it, yeah.
so sorry. It is so classic. Shit like this happens just to keep me humble, because otherwise I just
Well, you gotta laugh it
great
off.
all the time.
You gotta laugh it off. That's what happens. And I think that you move through the technical difficulties very gracefully.
Well, thank you.
And
Thank you for holding so much grace for me.
you're
A
welcome.
testament to you. I love it when you're in these conversations with spiritual people and you do something that is like really just just throws you off. I like seeing how they respond, that's like how like where are you on a scale today? Are you regulated or dysregulated?
Oh yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
were definitely regulated because you didn't miss a beat. You just rolled with it. It was so beautiful.
Yeah, I'm like, I can stay. I'm like, we can do this over. We can say this was the first draft. I'm here.
You were great. Thank you. Well, Trisha, tell us where to find you on all the platforms.
You can find me on Instagram. I'm actually not on TikTok, actually, but under A Taste of Trisha. And my name is spelled Trishia. I used to joke that my name is pronounced Trisha, but spelled Trishia because my parents knew that I needed the extra I because I was going to be a little extra. Um, and you can also find me under thrivewithtrisha.com
Okay.
or on LinkedIn.
Okay. I like it. Thank you so much for spending your time with me.
Of course, this was such a gift. Thank you so much, Rebecca.
Yes. Okay. Don't go anywhere.
Okay.
Bye, TikTok.
Bye, TikTok.
um, how do you feel